is Ryan Conley from Film Riot, and you're watching Film It VFX Studios.
Welcome to the Film It VFX Studios YouTube channel and the Talks Podcast Show.
Okay, go on the Muppets. That sounds pretty exciting.
Let's watch cat videos.
Yeah. What is up, guys? Welcome to another Talks Show special. Today we have the directors of the multi-award-winning hosts on the show today, which is very, very exciting. So we've got Richard and we've got Adam. How you doing, guys?
Going on? How you doing?
How's it
Good
going?
to see you.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. It's an absolute privilege to have you sharing your adventures with us today. So let's get to the apple and the peas, or whatever you want to call it, of the topic. Hosts. Before we get going, let's show these guys a trailer so they can see what it's all about.
Years ago, a father and his family lived in a big, bright house.
How did you feel, Cassie?
Yeah, fine.
When's dinner, Mum? Bed's starving!
Oh, put him down, love.
Blame Dad. He did that to me all the time.
I just like things the way they are. Don't you?
And one day, the father decided to invite some guests inside.
Right on time. Come in, Lucy.
Do you know how this story ends? They destroy everything he loves.
Shut up! Dad!
In my room. On my bed.
Don't you want to be set free?
So, how did it all begin? Start from the beginning with hosts.
Well, me and Rich, unfortunately crossed paths. And now we met in 2014. Rich was hired to come and shoot a music video for me. And we just I thought he hated me, he thought I hated him. So we didn't really speak that much that day until almost at the end of the day, right? Where I'm oh, he's all right. Yeah, he's cool as well. And then we sort of went off. Rich did the edit of the video and it was, as always, fantastic. And then so a couple of months later, Rich was looking for actors for his first short film that he was, I guess, writing and putting together and stuff. And he was looking for a villain. So I kind of always wanted to try, and dabble in acting. I chose music first, so I never really went to stage school or anything like that. So I messaged Rich and I was like, yeah, can I play the villain, please? So he got me to audition, and I think he must have been high because he gave me the job. Yeah, and Rich can tell the story better, but that's how we became good friends.
Well, the problem with being a music video director is you don't really meet a lot of actors, you just meet musicians. So the whole film was cast with musicians instead of actors because it's all I knew at the time. To probably its detriment, but but yeah, we had a good time and we hit it off, and we've kind of been best friends ever since. And we decided to kind of push further into the filmmaking side of things, and we wrote some scripts together, and we wrote one particular script that we fell in love with over a course of about 3 years. and that was proving to be a bit hard to fund because the budget we needed to do the vision that we wanted to do was quite expensive. So we thought, tell you what, let's try and start small, because I think a lot of these investors we're approaching are like, yeah, it sounds great, you've got all the stuff, but you've never done anything before. So it's a lot of risk with that amount of money for a bunch of nobodies who have never heard of. So we were like, well, let's do something a lot smaller and prove that we can make a film and hopefully make our money back and make an investor's money back, so that we can prove for the next one, you know, that we can make a film. And that's kind of what we did. But we struggled to get funding still, even for that, through investors. We had a lot more kind of interest, but the problem was it was as soon as kind of Brexit was kind of coming out, and a lot of the investors were like cagey with their money because it was too uncertain at that point in time. So at that point, we've been running a YouTube channel talking about filmmaking and music videos for about 6-7 months, I think. Do you want to tell them?
So yeah, we kind of both came up with this idea of why don't we, if we can't find investment via the, you know, normal means, or you know, the typical traditional means, which is approach financial professionals or whatever you want to call them, we thought, well, why don't we approach the people that we've already built a solid rapport with, and that's our subscriber fan base, which was small, but it was super dedicated, and like we had a lot of respect from these people and stuff. So we reached out to them and asked them if they wanted to make investments of smaller increments into the film, like a couple of grand here and a couple of grand there, from, you know, 10, 12 different people. And yeah, within a matter of weeks, we'd funded the whole film. And the same way that you offer one investor X amount of shares in return for the entire investment, we just divided that by the amount of investment. So say someone gave us 10% of the film's budget, 2.5 grand, we would give them 10% in shares of the film's profits for the rest of their lives. So it's the same model, but just, I guess, a different platform. And our platform was YouTube because of the structure or fan base that we'd already built. So somehow these chumps managed to do it.
So you got the you got the funding, everything's sort of going well. What was the sort of next stage? I mean, what was the next stage of that? So you said you casted people that you already knew, though obviously in your music videos. Is that correct?
No, that was the short film.
Oh, that was a short. Sorry.
This one in the between meeting Adam and shooting Host, I worked as a DOP on a few other features for other people, and in that time I met quite a few actors and became good friends with them, such as Neil Ward, Nadia Lamine, and we decided to cast them in our film. We kind of wrote the parts for them because they're good friends of ours and they're really talented actors as well. And then we kind of sourced the others from either people I'd known or friends of friends, or we put out casting calls on Facebook, didn't we? And had a look at some auditions for a few of the characters, and went into it like that. And then
you had to do it quite, I guess, like the normal method would be going via a casting agent when you're doing big films, you know, films where the budget can afford that. But being our first film, like the only means of casting was either via people we knew or out on Facebook, which can be, you know, you kind of have to tread carefully with that sometimes, because there's a ton of fantastic actors on Facebook that are just trying to push themselves and as far as they can, which is great. We all use Facebook for that, but there's also a ton of people out there, I guess similar to how I was, you know, when I asked Rich if I could be in his short film, that aren't professional actors at all and kind of just want a bit of, you know, they think
glory
from it, whatever it is, you know. And so, but it worked, it really worked. And we had so many fantastic, it was mainly actresses for this part that we cast. It was the part of the mother. We had like 13 women audition for that, and they were all great. It was a really tough choice until Jennifer Preston sent her self-tape in, and she completely knocked it out of the park. She was great. Yeah. I've
just put a casting call out for one of my movies at the moment, and Jennifer was recommended to me as well.
Nice.
She sounds awesome.
She's a wonderful person as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so you've got your cast, you've got your script done, you're all ready to go. What was the next sort of steps you sort of took? I'm sort of trying to, because this is it's a filmmaking channel.
Yeah.
So it's nice to, for young people out there that want to really start shooting films, because I'll get a lot of messages every single day. Carl, I really want to start doing films. I always recommend do a couple of short films first, sort of wet your whistle, and see how that goes, and wait for the features until you're confident with the shorts. So if you was talking to obviously the audience, and they want to know sort of like, obviously you've got your script, you've got your cast, where do they go from that point?
Well, one thing that we did was made sure that the script we wrote was doable with what we had. So a lot of what was written in the story was written about what we have around us, so to keep the cost down. So I think the majority of the cost of the film was actually probably the opposite to a lot of kind of indie films, was it was paying people. Like a lot of times people spend money on props and stuff like that and locations, and then don't pay their cast or their crew very well. Whereas we spent pretty much all the money on the cast and crew. Everyone got the same flat rates. There was no hierarchy of payment or anything like that. Directors got paid the same as like the kind of the people, not the bottom, but the lower level kind of runners and stuff like that. So everyone kind of got the same. And we worked around what we have. We shot the film in my own house. We decorated it ourselves. We went to charity shops and bought specific furniture that matched the color palette we had. We bought costumes on eBay, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we put a lot of thought into how it should look and the color palettes and stuff like that, but it was all done extremely cheap. Post was done for basically free because I run an edit suite, visual effects suite, I have my own cameras, lenses, lights, as well as Sean, who was first AC and gaffer, friend of ours. He brought all his equipment as well, so we had pretty good setup as far as equipment. So all of that was kind of there at our disposal, and the only thing we really had to pay for, which we were pretty adamant about, is people's wages and making sure they were paid for their time.
Yeah. So you say obviously you wrote the film on the basis of what you had. Is there anything you sort of would have changed, or is there anything you sort of would have said, if I had done money, I really would have liked to have done this? Or because I've obviously written a script myself, and obviously we started production on it, but it was a case of I've been very ambitious with the script, and I've thought to myself, do you know what? I'm not going to let anything sort of stop us from creating what we want to create. We just have to obviously let it take its time, and in the end we get what we want. Is that how you felt? I mean, what would you sort of changed? Because it's a fantastic film. It's an absolutely fantastic film. But is there anything you would have sort of done to
more time?
That
was about it.
I think more time. But I guess with more time, if you've got more time, it means you've essentially got more money, and with more money, you can do more things.
Obviously,
There were several things, that we kind of had to look through. I guess by draft 3 or 4, we'd look through and go, you know what, we totally understand the being ambitious and stuff, and we're super ambitious ourselves. But like, there are some things that we kind of looked at and went, if we do this with like absolutely zero budget, it's going to look so tacky. It's going to look so bad. It's best that we just replace it with something else, or completely take that out and check it. Make sure that the film works without it, or with something replacing it. And I think that was key for us, was making sure that we made use of everything that we had.
That's awesome.
Instead of trying to write in, not that it's this type of film, but instead of trying to write in some crazy car chase, for example, pay attention to what's happening in the location that we have, free reign of, which thankfully was Rich's house, and really go to town on what Rich said, which was, set dressing and props and stuff like that. And again, we must have spent, I don't know, maybe 500-600 maximum of the entire budget, which was 25 grand, on that stuff, because we built a lot of our own things. We went to charity shops and bought pieces of furniture that matched the family, the characters that we had written. The most expensive thing was the wallpaper, which we were adamant about getting. We had to splash out for that. But yeah.
But you did it. You filmed it all in your own house, Richard. You just said. How was that? How was that experience? Because it obviously, if I was to say to my wife now, can I sort of decorate my house to shoot a film, she'd cut me nuts off. You know what I'm saying?
I think most people who know her would vouch for it. That she's just the she's just the best. She just is so patient and kind of lets me do whatever I want. The whole house was covered in blood. We still found blood around the house 2 years later, like behind a curtain somewhere, or just in the corner of the carpet or whatever. Like the house she came back to, because we've got 5 kids. We've got 5 kids, and she took them all camping while we shot.
Please tell me you've got some behind the scenes of that.
Yeah. And she came back, and the whole house, like there's a blood trail down the whole corridor in the carpet, and all that stuff was just like chaos. There was blood all up the ceilings, all over the walls, everything.
She was just like,
she's cool with it. Yeah, cool. she's really, really supportive. Yeah, I think she just gets excited like we do, and that's just a real blessing to have someone like that supporting your corner.
My missus is a bit different. I mean, she's excited about what we're doing, but she's like, sort of keep it to sort of your side. But if I was like to film in here, she'd get all excited and she'd be like, yeah, all right, this is actually all right. You know what I mean? It's the convincing part.
That's the hard job, isn't it?
That's the hard job. So tell us, the audience, what's the film about? Give us, without sort of giving anything away, give us the premise of Host.
I guess the premise is that an innocent family, on Christmas Eve, an innocent family fall victim to a series of violent and manipulative attacks from a nearby couple who come over for dinner, who have recently been taken over by some sort of malicious supernatural entity.
No.
That's the general premise. Yeah.
That's so cool. So you said, Richard, that you was a DOP on some previous projects, and obviously you dabbled in you do visual effect. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What your sort of background is on that, and how you sort of got started in it?
Well, I started in music videos. I mean, I've always, since a kid, wanted to make films. I used to film on my dad's big VHS camcorder and stuff. Always wanted to do kind of dark and gritty horrors and stuff like that. But then the equipment was always too expensive. Like, I tried making a film when I was 18, and the cameras to rent even were like $2,000 or something. It was crazy. But then there was the DSLR resolution kind of changed everything, and I ended up buying a DSLR with some lenses about 10 years ago, and then deciding to start shooting music videos. But the goal was always to kind of do movies eventually, but I didn't go to film school, didn't do any of that kind of stuff. I did a degree in music, so me and Adam kind of have similar background with that. And then I've been DOPing and directing music videos for the past 10 years, working with different bands in the metal industry, mainly for Universal and Sony. And yeah, I kind of fell into that. And then I met a guy through a friend called Patrick Ryder, who's another director, and he got me to start shooting some of his shorts. Right. And then another director called Mark Zammit saw my shorts and kind of hired me to do his first feature. Then I got hired to do Paul Knight's second feature, sorry. And then I did a feature for Rick Roberts, which is a war film. And kind of, yeah, just kept progressing, and people seem to like what I do. And I kind of started winning awards for the DOP work on the films that I've done, which was nice. And I kind of felt like, yeah, I kind of clicked with this. But I like the idea of creating worlds and writing ideas with my man here. And
I'm very much the same, because I've been doing visual effects for nearly 17 years. And, you know, a long time. And I worked on some awesome stuff, but then I sort of thought to myself, if I know visual effects, I better, you know, sort of train myself on editing and cutting. So, you know, I started using Avid, and then I went from Avid to DaVinci, and then from DaVinci, I went to Premiere because it had this sort of connection with After Effects and all that. So I know exactly sort of very similar in the way you sort of not think, but the way you sort of your journey is unfolded. But Hosts is you know, turned out to be, you know, all that hard work has paid off.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
You know, because it's an absolutely awesome film. So can you tell people, I mean, where can they see it? Where is it available to watch or buy?
in the UK, it's out now on iTunes, Amazon Prime Video, and Sky Store. In America, it's oh my God, there's a lot of them, but mainly Prime Video, iTunes as well. I want to say Hulu. Is Hulu one of them?
I think so.
I think that's one. And then there's like 10 more, but they're like, I guess the
PlayStation Store, like the just all the main VOD.
Oh, DVD in America.
DVD
as
well.
Yeah.
So how did you find distribution on that? Was it difficult to get support on distribution?
It was it's a funny story. Well, no.
Go on, let's hear it.
It's funny because it's just funny thinking about it, because we had, okay, so we wrapped, so we shot the film in summer 2019, and then January last year, so 2 months before this crazy shit happened in the world, like we went out and shot the final like 4 scenes, all the external things. We had to wait until it was super cold and there were no leaves on the trees and stuff. So we shot the final scenes in January, and then COVID hit. And by that point, Rich had finished the final edit of the film, and everything was done, and sound was finished, and that's kind of it. So we were like, well, what do we do? We've got to try and sell this film, but we don't really, we had like a distributor in place, but a very, no disrespect to them, but they were quite a low level distributor, which is fair enough. And that's, you know, you've got to start somewhere. But we just thought, let's aim for the top and just accept whatever we get, you know, instead of starting at the bottom. So we basically sat up the whole night and emailed every distributor on the face of the planet. And we sent 174 emails that night.
Wow.
Literally.
Yeah, that's how you do it, though.
Yeah, literally, that is how you do it. And we think that the pandemic kind of helped that, because obviously there was a shortage in content because movie houses and production houses were closing. So people like Netflix and Amazon or whatever were, I guess, panicking and desperate for new content. So I think that opened the doors of the people that, the bigger distributors that we ended up speaking to, such as like Lionsgate and Studio Canal and Signature, all these people we were having conversations with. I think they were more open to nobodies like us and willing to give us a chance because they wanted that content. And it was crazy. We just started sending the trailer saying, would you like to see a full screener? And all of a sudden we're getting replies from, you know, big boys, mid-level people, low-level people saying, please send it. And then suddenly over the next like week or two, it's like bidding wars. It was nuts.
I think, sorry, go on.
And I was just saying, and then eventually we managed to we really wanted Dark Sky for America.
Yeah.
We had our eye on them for quite some time, and Neil, one of the lead actors in the film, he plays Jack, he hooked us up with Dark Sky via someone that he knew and sent them the film, and they just loved it. They were so passionate about it, and we ended up selling it to them. And a sales agent that owns Dark Sky, and thus moving forward, the sales agent has now sold it to all the other territories that have acquired it in the world. So it's kind of how it happened.
I think everything that's, you know, with all this COVID bollocks that's going on at the moment, you know, all the cinemas are shut. You know, everything's being released on VOD or some sort of streaming platform. So it's bad that the cinemas are closed, but in a sense, for independent filmmakers, I feel it's leveled the playing field, because everyone now, for the first time ever, when it comes to filmmaking, are on the same level, because it's only going to It's only going to go on VOD. So it's about, people, who's going to watch it, or, what they're going to watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think there was another thing involved there as well, whereas like approaching someone like iTunes and stuff, whereas it used to be they would have their premium content that had been displayed in the cinema. You had to have had a specific amount of screenings in the cinema before they would consider it their premium content that they would have a look at and put it on the what's it called, the front pages and the placements and stuff like that. But now, like, the distributors could go to them and say, well, it was meant to be in the cinema, and they've just got to, I guess, take their word for it, because you can't prove that it wasn't. And that, I think, opened a lot of doors, as well as having premium placement for the film, which has been really good.
So you, obviously going back to distribution, you sort of stayed up, and you said obviously you wanted to go with Dark Skies, which are an awesome studio, by the way. If them studios would never come up, I mean, would you settled for the lower one, the least favorite?
Well, I guess it's like what I said, that like we kind of started at the top with like Lionsgate and Fox, and we got emails back from them. They even requested a screener. They watched it. They gave like the head of Lionsgate,
head of acquisition and Lionsgate called us
in California, gave us a call. Crazy. Tell us how much they enjoyed the film, which was interesting. They said it was kind of a bit too on the kind of indie level for them to take on at this point in time, but they said make sure you send any future films our way, which was like incredible to hear. Like, just like, what is going on? We only took a punt with them for a laugh. We didn't kind of expect them to kind of.
I mean, you did the right thing though. I mean, you aim for the top, and I've always said just go for the top. Just go straight, because you don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't know. You're just thinking. I've spoke to a couple of people that are a bit sort of dubious about doing that, because, for instance, if they would have come to you and said, listen, we love the script, but we want to sort of shoot it our way. We want to reshoot the movie our way. What would have been your take on that? Because I think that's a lot of filmmakers have that sort of fear, if that makes sense.
I think that happens with, unless I'm understanding incorrectly, I think, that happens with scripts and stuff. You send Lionsgate or 84 or Fox, whatever, a screenplay. There is that risk of, well, for one, they probably won't take it on because it's unsolicited. And two, there is always a risk of a production house stealing that idea and making it into their own film. But I think if you've kind of done the groundwork and I guess the long slog of making a film from point A to point B and having it done, it can't be, you're only going to get a studio saying, or a distributor saying yes or no, and as far as I know, I guess we haven't had that experience of them going, well, we like it.
I mean, I had a conversation with Netflix, regarding the film that we're working on now, that I'm working on now, and their take was, when I explained to it over the phone to them, and I was explaining, the plans and stuff like that, they turned around to me and says, look, it sounds like a series. It sounds like, so that could be a good series. And my, argument was, well, I don't want to do a series. This film is based on 2 chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So I want to make 2 chapters of the movie. But they were sort of adamant about making it into a series.
That's what's in at the moment with that.
I sort of stuck to my guns, worked really hard on the script and worked really hard on the film. And we're working really hard on it. I said, well, maybe in the future, if we can get chapter 1 and chapter 2 doing, and then you want to turn it into a series, that sounds good. But sort of never heard back from them after that sort of conversation.
You never know though, man. Like you could go out and make this film, go back to them, get them to watch it, and they might go, actually, we'd like to acquire this. There's always that possibility. But it's kind of cool that they even read the script. That's amazing. But for Netflix to read it and go, well, yeah, but we want to make.
Well, I not read the script. It was a case of I got in contact with them through a friend of a friend. Yeah. So they ended up contacting me from America. And I was speaking to one of their top guys over the phone. I sort of didn't want to give too much away, because I'm thinking this could be anyone. You know, there could be someone, because you don't know, you know, someone stealing ideas, so on and so on. You know, in this day and age, you sort of got to be careful with it. But when I sort of explained the concept of what we was doing, you know, they came on and said, sounds like a series. And I was like, well, I don't want to do a series. I want to do a 2-chapter film, chapter 1 and chapter 2. But yes, we'll never heard back from them after that because sort of stuck to my guns. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think it's good to stick to your guns. I think we would have done the same, and we've spoken about if someone came with a future script and said, "Okay, we'll buy it off you, but we want to make it." Probably not want to do that. Like the whole reason we're in this game is because we love making films.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're on the same page.
Yeah, we're both on the same page. You know, it might make it harder, you know, to find the investment, you know, to find private investment from a pool of investors and whatnot, as opposed to kind of, what's the word, bowing down to Netflix and going, fine, we'll make it into a series, just fund it. You know, it's harder to go the other way and do it all yourself and source the money yourself, but it's not impossible. You know, it's got to be more patient and work a little bit harder.
So what's next? Are we going to see a part 2 to this film? Hopefully. What's next for you guys?
Probably not a part 2 at this point in time. I think, you know, it kind of ends a little bit kind of cliffhangery, but it was never the intention to make a sequel because the layers of story is kind of specific to that family, and kind of taking it somewhere else would kind of lose what the intention that we had for the film.
So I think the reason why I say that, sorry to cut you, the reason why I say that is because when you make a horror, people always expect a sequel in a horror.
Well, we can sell that to someone.
We can sell it to Netflix.
Yeah. Oh God.
No, we've written. This is what I was saying about the budget thing earlier. Like we like to write films that are quite. Well, what's the word? What's the word now? They're going to be expensive, I guess. And you know, you want to put everything you want to put in a script. We've written about 7 films like that, but you kind of, for our first, we realized that it just, you're never going to get it made if that's the case. So we were like, right, we've got to be strict with ourselves and make a film that we can make for the amount of money that we can find ourselves. But moving forward, so kind of now got like a stepping stone of different scripts, at this at like 300 grand, or this at 500 grand, this at 800 grand, this at 2 million, this at like 5 million, like just different levels of script that we can go to investors and go, how much are you wanting, what type of level are you wanting? We've got a script for that, do you know what I mean? And so that we're kind of hedging our bets with keeping working and
climbing the ladder.
And climbing that ladder. But yeah, we've got a few projects on the go, working on a specific one at the moment, which we're excited about.
That sounds awesome. Can you give us any sort of teasers about that? Any sort of...
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Or maybe come on the show again and talk about sort of your next projects, because it'd be lovely to keep in contact and see where you guys are going, and you know, because I think it's a lovely thing, you know, seeing people that are passionate about it, because we're in the same boat. You know, we as a studio don't do it for the money. We do it because we really enjoy doing it. Sometimes you sort of sit back and think to yourself, you know, it'd be nice to get money, you know, but to us is, you know, if we get a payment out of it in the end of it, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
And I think that is the way you got to think. Let's just have a quick conversation about equipment, because like I've just said, this is a film, you know, filmmaking channel. I think that will people find it very exciting to sort of hear. So what you shot hosts on, what sort of cameras and stuff like that?
This one.
Here it comes.
This is the main A cam, which is the Blackmagic Mini. That's the main one we put on, and then we've got the Pocket 4K Blackmagic was our B cam.
Okay. My B cam is the little.
No, not that one. I've got that one.
Oh,
as
is
well.
that the other Pocket?
This is the micro.
I remember we used one of those once for a
I've got one here.
YouTube episode, actually, one of the short films we did.
So this is the other B cam, the 4K.
Oh yeah. I'm actually using this one camera to film my movie at the moment. I think it's like this is like the best camera ever. I just absolutely love this camera. I was going to get the 4K one, but then they released 6K. But apparently they've got an 8K one coming out now, haven't they?
I heard there's one in the works, definitely, but we'll see. I'd like to get hold of that.
Yeah, it's an 8K one they're doing at the moment.
And a 12K they've got as well, which is crazy.
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
12K, but that's just sort of. I mean, I remember. I think Rob Zombie said in one of his behind the scenes of Halloween, "I don't want the film to be so sharp that I can see the bloke's nose hairs."
Yeah.
You know, you sort of, I don't know about you, but when you're in post production and you're cutting, you always sort of, you throw your denoiser on, then add a little bit of grain on top just to give it that 35mm.
I had the grain. I don't. Lots of people sharpen the black magic stuff in post, but I don't because I like the slight softness to it. I think it's a bit more filmic.
Yeah, that grain. I love that grain.
Especially on the one you've got, it's got a lovely grain. That's what I shot my first short film on, was that one, and it's got a lovely grain to that.
Yeah. What I normally do is I'll throw denoiser on it. Before I even go, I'll throw a denoiser on it straight away. Then I use nitro, the new film convert. Put that on, and you always get, and then color grade after. You always get a really nice result. Sort of. Yeah. When you.
What's sorry, I wanted to ask earlier, but.
Yeah,
what's your film about? If you're allowed to say,
So it's based on 2 chapters, and it's the premise. It takes a killer to catch a killer. So we start off with a serial killer known as the Juicer, and he's completely self-explanatory. He kills victims and he blends them. Basically, he blends them in a very old style 80s. Food blender, but what he does, he kills people that harm children.
Oh right, so he's like a good kind of.
Yeah, but he's sort of he is possessed. Okay, so he's possessed by a demon that believes that children are innocent, and they're obviously the devil's future rulers, if that makes sense, a future army. So he goes out and he captures and he basically kills these, pedophiles. Anyone that harms a child, slaps them, puts their hands on them, he'll kill them, and he will blend them up. So basically, he gets captured. He gets put in a mental institute, locked up. We go 2 years later and we have another serial killer who kills children. Now, this serial killer is an absolute genius. He's a genius, he's like Hannibal Lecter. He's just, he's so intelligent. So the police literally can't catch him. So what they do is they go to the mental institute. They release the Juicer on chains to help the police force capture this new serial killer.
That's really cool, actually. That's really interesting.
It's just a hard film to shoot. I tell you.
I bet.
It's because of the amount of cast we got. Well, that we need to have to tell the story.
Yeah.
No, it sounds cool.
I think we're 60 strong so far on the cast. So it's got quite a heavy cast. But going back to what I was saying, just if you want to do it, just do it. Just find a way of doing it. Because there's loads of practical effects in this. Loads of practical. But we've been lucky enough to get an awesome SFX artist. I mean, he's worked on James Bond. He's worked on so many, top films. So we're lucky to get him. If it wasn't for him, then obviously this film sort of don't think it would have worked because we wouldn't been able to tell our story because it's demonic, He has, the character has changes, go through changes, shall I say.
Is the reason that you've got such a big cast because you keep putting people in the blender, or?
yeah. No, it's just when we wrote the script. I don't know if do the same thing. You'll sort of write a script and then you'll change a lot of it during the filming times. You'd be like, well, maybe we should have done this and change it to this. So you're constantly evolving. You know, so we've had a few scenes where, for instance, well, maybe I should have told this story a little bit more, but in order to do that, we need to get another cast member in. We need to audition someone else to tell that bit of the story. So it's sort of, it's an easy film to follow, but it's you need these characters in order to tell the film properly. Otherwise, you'd just have chunks in between the film.
Totally.
You know, just chunks, and you'll be like, hang on, where are we at now? Who's just here now? They're sort of there, and why is this person here? So it has been a challenge, but it's the way we've been planning. It's been working nicely, because you know we did a film in 2019 which was a disaster. That was Twinkle Twinkle, was a horror, and we gave it a good go. I mean, it's got a lot of criticism and it's got a lot of love. But it's you know, it was sort of rushed, if that makes sense. You know, we sort of went in it, first feature film, you know, and sort of rushed it. So this one it's not being rushed. If it takes 2-3 years to finish, it'll take 2-3 years to finish. Until I see that I'm in that editing suite, and then I've finished the cut and I'm happy with it, I won't put it out there. I think that's a sort of learning curve that I learned through the first film we did, but it's a big one. It's a big film because there's two chapters. There's 2 chapters. So chapter 2 will bounce off chapter 1, but chapter 2 will be a revenge film. So obviously, I don't really want to take too much, but you sort of can put 2 and 2 together. That you know, the serial killer sort of doesn't succeed, but there's a relative of the serial killer that wants to take revenge on everyone that teamed up against him in the first one, if that makes sense. So
it's cool. Whenever it's done, I'd love to see it.
I'll ping it over to you. I'll ping it over to you. Give us some feedback, you know, and sort of what you think about it. And I'm sort of working on a script for a short at the moment, which I'll talk to you about off camera, which I think is going to sort of blow everyone's fucking socks clean off, mate, because it is
nice.
Yeah, it's something that's already been done, but it's a fan film.
Oh, okay.
But it's a fan film, but I've got the people that sort of a couple of people that want to sort of do it. But I'll have a chat with you after, because it'd be nice to get you two involved as well, if you're up for it. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an honor having you here.
Thanks for having us.
And guys, if you've not seen Host yet, please check it out. I will post all the links in the description down below. So in the notes below, go down there, check out the film, show it some love. It definitely deserves it. And yeah, we will definitely be back sometime in the next couple of weeks for the next talk show. We're meant to be having a couple more guests on next week, so we will definitely catch you then. So thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you
for
very
being
much
on the show. It's been an honor having you here, and congratulations on Host. And we hope to see you back on the show again with your latest or your newest film.
Thank you very much.
If that makes sense.
See you again.